Pragmatic solutions with clients to unique business and leadership problems. So Dr. Dixon is a member of the CIPD in the UK, and he has enjoyed excellent senior coaching and strategy development throughout his career, including the telecoms mini MBA as an ICF certified coach, Marshall Goldsmith coach, strength strategy, and he's also certified a coach of the symbiosis goal attainment. And without wasting further much time, I'd like to welcome Dr. Dixon Ojuku to the stage. Welcome, Dr. Dixon.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to this session. I would like to share my screen with you so that we can start from there. Is that okay? All right. Perfect. Hi, everybody. My name is Dixon. I will be your host for the next 30 minutes. And we are going to be looking at organizational agility, and proper engagement strategy. So I'll start with saying, first of all, that I believe that all of you are aware of what's happening globally. In fact, if not for this, I would have asked you, how was your flight to the conference? How did you locate the venue? Well, thank God we are virtual today. Thank God for ABMC for giving us opportunity to have a virtual conference. So I want to say welcome to this platform and thank you for joining us. Today we are globally in a complex global business environment where we are having the VUCA world. We are having a world that is, quite unpredictable. And as such, we don't know what's happening. By this year, by this time last year or December last year, if anybody told me I will be locked up, and then be in a house for 3 months, I wouldn't believe. I would think the person is joking. But today I've been in the house going to 3 months now. We are not moving. It's not only in Liverpool here in the UK, but also in Africa, in America, in Australia, and every part of the world. So we are in a time where there's a great need for us to adapt to change very quickly. And today I'm going to be talking to you on organizational agility. How would an organization, or should an organization, be agile in a time like this? And it's obvious, that agility is, for an organization, is ability to renew themselves, adapt and change, and move on to the next level rapidly, in a turbulent and very unpredicted environment. So again, when it becomes a competitive advantage for others, then, for the company, that means they get stronger and become easier for them to change. That becomes an asset for them. So I want to move on by saying that for us to be able to achieve organizational agility, we have two major things that we have to have in place. Number one is the capability, and the second one is the stability. So capability has to do with ability to be nimble, very flexible, very light, not very rigid. And swiftness has to do with speed, ability to be able to act quickly. Those things need to be there. But at the same time, it has to be in a situation where that organization is stable, having a sound foundation, a springboard to be able to practice that agility. So when you look at commitment, the two components of capability and stability, when we plot it on a quadrant, you find out that we have 4 types of organization. If you look at a particular place, you look at here, the lower side is the weak side and upper side is the strong side of capability. That's on the vertical. On the horizontal, we have the stability. If you have an organization that is not stable and is not capable, then that organization is trapped. If you have an organization that is very capable, but they are very weak in stability, then it's just like a startup, like a butterfly. They can fly anywhere, they can be flexible, but they don't have any foundation. Any little wind can blow them away. But if you have an organization that is not very capable and not flexible, but they are very stable, they become like a log of wood, very bureaucratic. They are like a fat, log of wood that cannot move easily. So they become bureaucratic. But what we're looking at today is an organization that is agile, which is an organization that is strong in capability and an organization that is strong in stability. So I want us to lay that foundation, first of all. And I want to take us into the factors that drive agility. Let me start with saying, first of all, that there must be a balance between stability and capability, like I've said. There must be a stable, platform on which the organization we stand to be able to be flexible. Their financial status needs to be stable. Their people need to be stable. Their culture needs to be stable. Their vision needs to be stable. Also their values need to be stable. Then, based on that, it's easier for them to practice the kind of agility we're talking about. So there must be a balance between the two. And it has to do with also their structure, their processes, and the people. There must be stability. There must be also, at the same time, there must be capability. And also there's other areas in terms of governance. Who makes decision? How quick is the decision made? It has to be speedy, stable at the same time. Speed and stability is required. It doesn't need to be a place where people are making easy decisions without having a backup of a solid organizational stand. And also it has to not to be a place where there's an organization that is stable but very sluggish. Decisions are not made very fast. So governance is important. And again, we move on to the next one, which is the structure. The structure, we need to keep the structure constant in some ways. The people that you report to doesn't need to change. Where you are in the organization doesn't need to change. And which team you belong to doesn't need to change easily. You need to come to work and knowing that you are in finance and not in HR. Those aspects of the structure need to be stable. But again, it has to be stable and at the same time flexible enough to know when you need to move a role from one part of what you're doing today to what you're doing tomorrow. Or knowing that the HR has moved from where they used to be and they're now joined with another department, for example. So structure is important. And also process is also important. How do we do things? What process do we take? Who makes the decision? What authority do we have to make that decision? We need to make sure that that is clear about who, what, and how the decisions are being made and how the processes of job is being carried out. And I want to mention that it's the combination of speed, flexibility, and the dynamic model that is actually gives you a true agility. You must have to have that dynamism, that flexibility, and speed for you to be able to achieve organizational agility. Okay, going forward, I want to say dimensions of agility. What are those dimensions that we need to have in place to ensure we are maintaining organizational agility? Number one is that I want to mention that organizational ability is only achieved when we consider both the internal and the external factors. Okay? And then if we look at it, when we're talking about agility, you must be agile as an organization. If you're going to achieve a total agility, a wholesome agility, you must be agile in terms of your innovation. How you are doing things, how new ideas are coming into your organization, new products and new ways of doing things. You must be agile in terms of your strategy. Your strategy must be able to reflect the demands of the time. Today we are looking at the issue. Some organizations are continuing business because they have moved from face-to-face buying and selling and have moved into online buying and selling because their strategy is very agile. Also, culture has to be agile also. In terms of today, there's a lot of things that are changing in as much as the core values are not changing. But in terms of the culture, the way we do things are changing because culture is the way we do things. The way we work today is changing. We no longer the culture of coming to work and then signing 7 to 4 o'clock or 8 to 4 o'clock is going to change. So there's certain ways of doing things. We must be able to differentiate what part of the culture that has to be stable and what part of the culture that has to be moving. Okay, we're also going to be talking about the issue of the learning and change. That's one of the ones that needs to move very fast. The organization that is going to be thriving very well in this time of crisis is that organization that is having a learning agility. They are easy to learn, they are quick to learn, unlearn, and also you also be able to relearn. So they have to unlearn, relearn, and at the same time unlearn. Okay, so it's something that we need to look at as a very good area to be very quick, very agile. The learning organization that learns continuously, quick to learn and quick to adapt and change is a very agile organization that will survive in crisis. The structure has to also be agile. We need to make sure our structure is agile in terms of who does what, and then at what point in time. We need to make sure that our structure is really dealing with. Our structure is really dealing with the needs of the business and need of the customer. It's not as it was in the beginning, now and ever shall it be. If our structure is not achieving the organizational objective, it has to be changed. The same thing is applicable to the leadership and management. People are meant to take care of businesses and achieve results. So we need to get to that point where we are sure that the people are actually achieving the result and they are in the right place at the right time, being a right peg, the round peg in a round hole, or the square peg in a square hole. So it's important to make sure we achieve our agility in innovation, strategy, culture, learning, structure, and then leadership. Okay, all right. I want to move on also to talk about another area of agility, framework for organizational agility. First of all, the most agile organizations are succeeding. If they are succeeding, they have to make sure they get some things right. They get their framework right, their structure, their culture, their leadership, their people and process. And if you look at it, for us to be able to have a framework that guides a very effective agility, we need to create a supportive company culture. Identify the values, the openness, and all the knowledge and improvement that needs to be taking place in the organization. We need to maintain, strategic flexibility, capturing opportunity and knowing where to change and when not to change. Being able to establish the collective leadership, being on the same page concerning decision-making in various areas that are in business. And also, we also need to applying the right talent strategy, filling the position with the right people all the time. We need to make sure at any point in time that we're having right people in the right places in our organizational structure. Very, very important. Also, utilizing adaptive process, assessing and establishing new ways of responding to change. We need to find a way. COVID-19 is an example. We need to find us as an organization, how are we responding to it? How long is it taking us to respond? How long is it taking us to be able to find our feedback? These are some of the framework for organizational agility that must be in place in today's crisis period. Again, I looked at some of those qualities that differentiate agile organization from less agile organization. And then having ranked them in order of 1 to 10, we found that the role clarity takes the number 1. People must know what they're doing. And then top-down innovation is number 2. Capturing external ideas, 3. Processing panel, process-based capability. Operational discipline. Internally competitive. Meaningful values. Knowledge sharing, continuous knowledge sharing. Inspirational leaders. And people performance review. These are some of the 10 qualities. When they are in place, that organization is likely going to perform better than organizations where these things are not in place. And when they are in place, it gives us some very good outcome. And some of those outcomes is accountability, innovation, capability, culture, motivation, innovation, and then coordination and control. So for you to make sure that your organization is an agile organization, you might have to check this up. It's actually a research by McKinsey and Company. These 10 qualities or these 10 competencies need to be existent in your organization. And again, I want us to move from this agility to engagement and then see how they are related. I'm glad when I was looking at the research on organizational agility to run into a particular definition by Rajiv Behera, who is the CEO of Reflective. He put organizational agility in such a way that is so exciting that people element was actually taken into consideration. He put it this way, that organizational agility means all your people are motivated, highly responsive to change, and performing at their best in any business environment. When our people are performing, employees are performing at their best in any business environment, then that particular employee or employees are engaged. So we're going to be looking at the issue of engagement. And for the purpose of making sure that we're on the same page, employee engagement, I will read it the way it is from the way I captured it, is a state of functioning in which an organization employees are motivated to contribute to the company's success, and they are also ready to go an extra mile to ensure that the organizational objectives are achieved. When people are engaged, they don't mind going an extra mile. They monitor what they are producing, not the time they spent in the office. They no longer look at time, they look at output. So that's when you see people, they're excited at being part of the organization and they're excited about their role. When people are doing that, they are actually engaged. Now, let's look at it. People can actually be committed and may not be engaged. And people can be engaged and may not be committed. And when people are not engaged and they're not committed, oh, you have a big problem in your hands. No interest in putting a lot of effort, no interest in the organization, long aspirations, then you are having a bag of disengaged people in the organization. But you can have people who are actually engaged, but they are not committed. Maybe they love their job, but they don't have interest in that organization. They're just doing that job because they need to earn a living. You don't need such people for too long in the organization. What you need to do is to be able to enhance their commitment. You can also have another group of people who are committed, but they're not engaged. They are committed because they love the organization. They fully identify with the organization, but they're not prepared to go an extra mile. Maybe they don't like their role, or maybe there's something wrong along the line that's preventing them from being engaged. Sometimes when people are not engaged, you find out that they're busy looking for another job. Okay? But again, you have the last group of people in the quadrant, which are the fully engaged people. And those are people who are excited about the job they are doing. They're excited to be part of the organization, and they're proud of it, and they're ready to go an extra mile. That's the way and the place you need your people to be. People that are in the fourth quadrant, engaged people and committed people. That should be where every organization to be driving up. Now, let's look at some of the engagement strategies that I have put together for this particular session. But before I go into it, I want to make some, have some caveat or kind of a explanation that employee engagement strategy may not be the same for all organizations. Let's make that one clear. It doesn't mean that the organization strategy, the implements organizational employee engagement strategy has to be the same all over the world for all organizations. No, not really. It depends on a lot of factors. The nature of business people are doing contributes to the kind of strategy they will put into place for their engagement. And then also the geography. Sometimes you find out that what keeps people engaged in one part of the world is not what keeps people engaged in another part of the world. Sometimes it can be the type of organization. Sometimes it may be the organizational needs, the needs they have at a particular point in time, or maybe the stage the organization is, whether they're at the early stage or their maturity stage or their declining stage. So there's a lot of factors that determine an effective engagement strategy for organization. So I wouldn't want to claim that what I'm going to share with you is plug and play or one size fits all. But I believe that these are most generic things that form the good employee engagement strategy for a lot of organizations. So let's take them one by one and see what they are. First of all, the first thing I have put down here is that you must have a compelling vision and clear goals. People don't want to work in an organization where they don't know where they're going to. You know, people talk about the issue of Twitter. Somebody make a joke in Twitter. You know, how many people are following you, or how many people are you following? And somebody says, stop following me because me too, I don't know where I'm going to. So somehow, people don't want to follow those that don't know, organization that is not clear about their vision and their goals. In fact, I saw that advert on a bus in Africa, a sticker on the back of a bus. So stop following me. Me too, I'm lost. Stop following me. Me too, I'm lost. That means that people don't want to follow those who are lost, those who are not clear about where they're going to. Again, one of the key, another factor is bringing back the human in human resources. There's a whole lot today about bringing back the human in human resources. It looked like human resources has been operating for a while with the human left behind. So sometimes we're dealing with people as if we're dealing with machine. We're dealing with people as if they don't have emotions, and if they don't have feelings and they don't have needs. Today, people want to identify with organization and committed and be engaged with an organization that take them as human beings and not statistics. They don't want people that take them as just an asset. They want to take them first of all as human beings that are created by God before they are taken to be employees. So we need to bring back the human in human resources. When there's a human aspect of human resources in your organization, people will feel, respected. People will feel belonging to that organization, and that will enhance their commitment and their engagement. The another one I'm going to be talking about is the focus. Focus, and invest in your people. When people say if you don't invest in your people, you end up with monkeys, or if you pay your people less and you don't invest in them or train your people, you end up with people that are, not properly, people that are not properly ready to do what they're doing, incapable people that will not be able to have the confidence to go to extra mile to achieve your objective. So it's good, first of all, just like we have our children. Nobody wants to leave the children and expect that they will grow up to become who they want them to be. You invest in your children, you send them to the best school, you give them the best classes, you put a lot of studying materials around them to be the best. That's the same way we need to treat our employees. We need to invest in our people if we want them to get to be the best we want them to be. We need to give your employee a voice. Employee need to be able to have a say in the decision you are taking, not forcing everything down on employees. Top down all the time. This is the circular. This is the directive from the CEO. This is the new order from the leadership. No, not all the time. We need to get employees to be able to express their view, say the way they would like to be governed, the way they would like to be led, the way they would like to be managed, the way to contribute to the decision that is affecting them. Let them have a voice. Let them have a buy-in in your decision making. Carry them along. Don't leave them and just make them feel like we will tell you what to do when it is time. Let's get them sometime where you are going to be amazed at the kind of value employees are going to bring on board when you give them a voice. The next point is communicate, communicate, and communicate. We cannot overemphasize the importance of communication, especially in this period of COVID-19. We need to make sure our communication channels are open, and we're using multiple effective channels, both on face-to-face, on phone calls, on email, on chats, on SMS, on any form in different languages. Let our communication be open. It's better to communicate more frequently than not to communicate at all. Over-communicate than under-communicate. Employees get troubled when they don't know what is going on. There's a COVID-19. They're afraid. Are we going to be sacked? What is happening when we come back? Is my job going to be there or not? Find a way to reach out to them and give them some comfort. Even if it's going to be a difficult decision, still communicate it to the employees. It's important. Have a clarity of roles and responsibility. Let people know what they're doing. Let's not have an overlap of what I'm doing and what the next person is doing. And let there be effective reward and recognition for the job people are doing. Those things will help people to make sure they're engaged. When people are properly paid for what they're doing and their roles are clear to them, they are very likely to be very engaged. And then hire the right people. Let not any other factor than performance and suitability be your motive. Don't get people on the job because they are related to you. Don't get people on the job because they are friend to your boss. Don't get people on the job because they are for your tribe. We need to make sure only the right people are in the right jobs. Square holes on a square peg, on square peg on a square hole, round peg on a round hole. Ensure also that you have a performance management that is working. A lot of performance management are not working. No feedback, no constant check-in. We go out at the end of the day and then we tell people this is what you have made and this is your rating at the end of the year. No. Sometimes performance management is causing more harm than good if it's not properly, put in place. Let's make sure our performance management is the one that is working and people understand how it works. And then we need to have office that is fun. Today, some offices are, thank God it's Friday, because people don't want to be, anytime they succeed in going through or gliding through a week, they're almost like, thank God we made it this week. Whoa! It's a terrible week for them. The office is terrible for them. But there's some offices that, thank God it's Monday. We're here again. Work is resuming. I want to go back to my work because it's an exciting place to work. So let's make office fun. Let's not make it a rigid place. Let it not make it like a military environment where there's order and counter order and shouting and screaming. And once the boss comes in, everybody takes cover under the table. No. People want to work in a place where they feel at ease, at home, and feel belonging. And then let's have a flexible work type. Today we need to start thinking about the challenges that the pandemic has put across to us. We need to start thinking about people working part-time, people having job sharing, people working in a flexible time. They can work in the morning, on the evening. People working 2 days in a week. Not everybody being in a full-time employment from morning till evening, 5 days in a week. Not necessarily. We need to start considering, different kind of works type that we are having currently. Let's begin to diversify. The workplace need to look different. The workplace doesn't need to be a place where everybody walk in and we are all, traveling in the traffic for how many minutes, to get to work. Let it be flexible. You can work from home. You can work in your car. You can work in next business center next to your house. Let's make workplace very flexible. And that makes people more engaged. And a lot of people today are working from home. And some people are not ready to come back. I'm telling you the truth. Some people don't want to go back to that office. They want to start working from home or looking for a job that will help them work from home. So the workforce has to be flexible, and that's the kind of work environment we're looking at. So having said that, this is the concluding remark. Despite the challenges posed by the current COVID-19, my people who are listening to me, we must remain resilient and focused. I want to share with you one of the things or something I learned in a conference recently, and that has been a very good guide for me. And it said, whether the weather be good, whether the weather be bad, we will weather the weather, whatever the weather, whether we like it. Mindset we need to have a mindset of resilience, a mindset of a ruggedness and doggedness, not ready to give in and not ready to give up. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you so much for the presentation. I really appreciate that, Dr. Dixon. So right away, we'll go to the question and answer. Yes, how should we differentiate agility for efficiency and effectiveness from what might be done in the interest of some CEOs and these managers? That is asked by Jean.
Yeah, that looks like an MBA question. Okay, how should we differentiate agility for efficiency and effectiveness from what might be done in the interest of some CEO, MDs, and GO? I think it's very clear. Why do I say it is very clear? It's very clear that the organization has a goal, and the organization has an objective, and then we have a purpose. We have to be, maybe we are looking at being the first in our industry, or taking 20% of our market share, or increasing our revenue by 20% this year, or reducing our cost by 10%. Those are some of the key objectives and some of the things that we have in the organization that we are going to be achieving. Anything that we are having from anyone in the organization that doesn't seem to support the key objective and target that we're driving the organization has to be discouraged. Whether it's coming from the CEO or MD or manager, we can get back and say, sir or ma, you are telling me to employ this person that has that didn't pass the interview. Do you think it's the best for the business? Do you think it's going to help us achieve our goal? Let me give you an example of what I did recently, in my career, some time ago. A chairman that owns a bank, then I was the head of human resources of a bank, asked me, he has to write, he has a special ink, which he uses to write. He wrote on a CV and asked me, please employ. Then when you see that particular, not pink, it's a pink looking, a ink. I know it's from the chairman. What did I do? We went through the normal process and make sure it's documented. and did the whole interview with about 5 people for that position, and that candidate came last. I wrote in the report, all of us wrote in the report, as the head of human resources, I finally wrote, the panel did not recommend this candidate because he performed badly or poorly in the interview. Please, CEO and chairman, kindly advise what step to take. You know, the man did not respond to that email until today, that particular text, because he knows that there's no way he is going to employ somebody that is not qualified in his company. And he wants us to do the same thing. We have to stand our ground. Sometimes we need to push back. The CEOs, the MDs, and the managers are human beings. And by the time you push back, sometimes it will become part of the credible characteristics they have about you. When they're looking for people of integrity and people that have zero tolerance, they will remember you. So it's important to push back when that particular directive from the chairman or from the CEO or MD or the manager is not contributing to the company objective. That's what I have to say for this.
All right. Thank you so much. Have you answered the second question? Okay.
The second question says, what is your recommendation about the balance between maximizing shareholders' value and bringing back the human in HR? I think that's a very good question. First of all, maximizing, shareholders' interest or value comes from performance. So first of all, they have invested money. They want revenue. They want profit. They want dividends to be paid, and it's going to come from the performance of the company. So if you don't have the right people to be there to work for you, then you are going to be losing the main reason why you are there. So it will be actually strange for shareholders not to want the inhuman to be in the human resources. What we are saying in that particular phrase is treat people like human beings. Don't treat them like animals. Don't treat them like machines. And if you don't treat them, it looks like you having a great footballer like Lionel Messi. And then every time you don't give him attention, you don't talk to him well, you don't treat him well, and then you want him to come and win matches so that you can win trophies and make a lot of money as a football club at the end of the year. It wouldn't work. So I believe for shareholders, we need to make business case for them all the time when we're looking at initiative that puts human back on the people management. So we'll get to let them draw a line of sight between our initiative and their value. If we treat them well, they will be able to perform better and give us more results, and that will increase our profit, and that will increase your dividends. So we must make a connection between the two all the time. Let the shareholders and owners of business know that when we are putting back human in the people management, we are actually letting their performance go up and letting their value also go up. When they get that reasoning and that business case from you, right, you are going to be on the same page in that particular matter. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you in terms of how do we bring back HR or human to human resources, and at the same time balancing it with shareholders' interest. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And Dr. Dixon, we have our giveaways after every presentation. So I wanted kindly for you to just tell us which exact person would you want us to give the giveaway. We have books, the HR books, which we're giving them away. Let me just share right now on the screen. Just a minute.
Okay, how many people do we have give away to the participants?
Yes, we have. We would like you to just tell us the names of people, at least 5 of them. We have 5 HR books that we'd want to give us giveaways.
Okay, I'm trying to find out where the participants are. The participants whose name, I don't see any participant. If your
maybe they can raise their hand actually.
Yeah, if your name starts with a D, like Dixon, let's give it to the person. I don't know. I can't see the participants from here. Sorry, I'm trying to check where I can see the participants. Okay, and if your name starts with a P, a D, that's great, or an O. Then give it to the person.
Yes, actually, maybe they can also be able to raise their hand or maybe say something on there.
Okay, I can see the participants.
Maybe on the audience part, can you be able to see there's a lady who has asked a question, Caroline and Savia?
On the Q&A?
Actually, on the audience part. And also, I think on the Q&A.
Okay.
I think also on the Q&A.
Okay,
yes,
okay, Williams, let me give you the opportunity to do that on my behalf for the first time, please. Yeah, use your discretion at this time to give it so that we will save the time for the next speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So actually, before you go, Dr. Dixon, we have a last question.
Yes.
From Savian, do you think the current work ethics in the public service can support flexible working time in public service institutions?
Say that again. Do you think the current work ethics in the public service can support flexible working time in the public service institution? Yes, I believe it's possible. I'm not sure. Yesterday, I spoke on the skills required for the public sector, adaptability skill for the public sector in the webinar yesterday. And I think basically everything is possible. I'm not sure about how the public sector is currently working, but I think it has to start with the new normal. We are in a new normal. As organizations are adjusting to the new realities of the COVID-19, we need to begin to get into a situation where we differentiate between which organization or which department or individual that can work from home and which of them cannot work from home. And remember, it's not only working from home. When we talk about flexible working, it's not always working from home. Some people can decide to work 3 times in a week. That sometimes today in the office, tomorrow at home. Today in the office, tomorrow at home is flexible. You can also work in such a way that you work in the evenings. It's flexible. Instead of working in the morning, because maybe in the morning there's so much distraction and your children at home. So those are all part of flexible working. And then a lot of things that are done in the public service today, if they are actually automated and they are in the digital form, can be done from home. It can. I think what we need to do is to begin to take a very deliberate effort to look at all our processes in the public sector. Not everything that will be done from home. For example, there are some places you need to walk in and sign something with an official before you collect something. Those ones that are customer facing, you might need to leave those things the way they are or find another way of automating that. But for certain work at the back office or people who don't need to be every day, like if you are in a public office where you need to pay out money to somebody physically, maybe you need to go there and do the payment. And along the line, the organization should start thinking about how do we make this payment an online one instead of the one that has to be done face to face. So when we look at the issue of flexible working, it doesn't mean every department has to be flexible working. We need to determine which one will be flexible and which one will not be flexible. That's the first place to start with the issue of flexible work time. So we need to first of all do that analysis. Then we begin to put the process in place. What kind of IT is required? What kind of reporting is required? How do we measure the performance from there? How do we actually manage employees from that distance? Those are things that deliberately need to be put in place before we can decide to deploy a flexible work hours. However, if you ask me how to start, I will start with doing a parallel run. Use a department, maybe use HR to start the working from home. Let's see what the challenges are. You know, when you talk about working from home, it's not the same thing in Europe and America and Africa. Sometimes the issue of data in Africa is expensive. So people need to first of all deal with their family challenges before you tell them to use that money to go and buy airtime or their data for working from home. So we need to take it gradually, bit by bit, and make it structured before we can deploy flexible work hour. That's my suggestion.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Dixon. That is excellent. I think he has been able to answer your question. So when it comes to giving the book away, Richard and Stella will be able to get the books. And so thank you so much, Dixon, for your time, and really appreciate that. So
thank you, Williams.
Thank you. So we'll take, like, let's say 5 minutes to ensure that the next session starts immediately. So on your left hand side, there are rooms. On the third room is performance management, legalities of employee monitoring, and the tools they can use for this process. Once you click that, it will take you to the next session. That is the third room. So that's where now we'd like to kindly request all the delegates and also the speakers to go to that room right now.
So World Class Manager as a program is a series of modules that's allowed us to focus on core concepts that have been world tested and proven by CEOs. So we've started by taking on 4 of those modules, and it's allowed us to hone in on things that we might have known about historically, and it's brought them to the forefront to make sure that we're in line with what a World Class Manager should be.
What I really liked about it was the fact that it's broken down into those bite-sized chunks, so you can just view a video for 10 minutes, you learn what you need to, and then you can put it into practice.
You could do it from home if you wish to do so, you could do it, book some time out of your diary at work. Because it's video enabled, you could do it on your mobile.
With World Class Manager, you can pick up the iPad, have a watch for 10 minutes, learn all that you need to, put it straight into practice. So much easier.
I think there's an opportunity in terms of new ways of working, innovation, in terms of approaching things differently, listening to people within the team, listening to their ideas.
World Class Managers really work for me. I'm able to get it in there for an hour, maybe an hour and a half every single week, and it's really interactive in the different ways that it comes across in learning, from the watching the video, from reading, and then actually from participating in the online tests to make sure the message has landed is perfect for me. It's a different kind of learning style which I like.
But also you get a workbook that goes with it, and then some reflection quizzes that kind of make sure that you kind of embed the learning. I think the beauty of it as well is that you can then go back and review it and re-watch it as you go along.
It was inspiring for me to go back to basics, go back to where my time's valued and where it matters, and re-emphasising what the strong parts of my characteristics are and how I can influence them on my team.
Particularly with my time management and particularly with my goal setting, I've kind of put it into my coaching and around my team, so making sure that my goals are exactly what they're after as well, digging into the root cause for them. My priorities are they're different now. I'm pushing back on stuff that I can do later on, and I'm making sure that the important stuff's getting done first.
It's allowed me to self-reflect on where I spend my time and why I spend my time doing the things that I do.
It's made me think about how I currently act in my management role, what I need to do to try and focus on my team more, and how to get the best out of those guys, but also making sure that they're getting the best out of the business as well.
So I think they've seen a clear difference in the amount of time I spend with them, my conversations I have with them, the amount of praise and reward I give them, which necessarily at times before I forget to do. So yeah, it's kind of really helped in that element.
I love the kind of the little key things to make sure that you get the most out of that time with your kind of direct reports. And actually also what it helped me think about is when I've got my own appraisal with my manager as well about what I should be thinking about and doing.
I think it's quite authentic in its style. I think it's a really good way of investing time in people without a huge amount of investment in time, because the modules are so short and sharp, and it allows you to really hone in on the things that are actually important.
The fact that I've been through it and I've seen the impact on myself as well when I reflect upon what I've done, I think if I've took away from that, and I'm a bit of a tough cookie to break, where there's other people that are a lot more receptive than me, and if I've gone through it and I've found it really positive, and I believe others will as well.
Having completed the World Class Manager module, I'd definitely say that I have certainly learnt from the experience, and I'd say I was a better manager.
I'd recommend World Class Manager because it's there to better you. You're going to learn skills that are new to you, and then you can obviously embed those. But the benefit is that a lot of these the skills and the sessions that we've done before aren't new, but actually it's a different take on it, and actually it'll give you that refresher. So it's great for everyone.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, or good morning, wherever you are. My name is Sarah Rickson, and I'm excited to be here today with you. I am going to talk about performance management and predominantly looking at also the tools. So let me just try and share. I can start the presentation. I'm talking about performance management and monitoring and also some of the tools, especially in this era of COVID-19. As I said, my name is Sarah Richardson. I'm sure I've already been introduced. I'm a global speaker and I've loved and worked in the HR space for over 25 years now. I just want to start off by saying HR actually, regardless of anything that you do in terms of performance management, you have to understand that HR facilitates and fosters performance culture. So being agile, and I'm saying HRs today, we have the opportunity to be very agile and innovative because we are leading the conversation now. We are leading the conversation for organizations, the only two conversations around this crisis. That is money and people. What do organizations do around the money and the people? Because they need the people to drive the services and the products, and then they need the money actually to continue thriving. But when we are looking at the performance of our people, we have to look at also a more holistic way of approaching this. And that means the mind and the body become very, very critical. You have to look at the mind and the hearts of your people today. You cannot just go and manage performance without thinking, how do they reason, how do they imagine, what are they feeling, how can they generate ideas even with terms that are very tight right now. And then you can be able to go into performance and ask them to deliver. So the conversations, and I insist, it's a conversation you're going to have around performance. It is not an appraisal anymore, especially if you're working with remote workers who cannot see you. It should not be an appraisal. It should be a conversation. That means it's a two-way. There's some significant changes that have affected consumers, employees, and businesses. I'm going to focus especially on the salary, on the employee ones. Salary cuts are going on. We know there's blue-collar workers in critical services hailed as heroes, while there's increase in working from home. The thing that many people, especially in Africa, say it cannot exist. Now it's existing in Africa. I'm so glad I worked from home for 12 years in the UK, and I used to say this to people, you know, when I'm doing these forums, and people used to say, Sarah, those are things of the Western world, they won't happen in Africa. Where are we today? This is our reality. And so we have to learn how to work with people we cannot see. There are many employees who have quit and stayed. Because you can't see them, you have not touched their head, you have not touched their heart and their hearts. So their hands cannot actually do the effort, or they cannot perform if the mental space is not bought in, if the emotional space is not bought in. And so there are a few things that we need to do to really generate our performance. And leadership will take a very key piece in playing that part. Remote working performance is going to need shared leadership, and it will be driven by trust. A new conversation in the performance management space is trust. And we are no longer managing talent. So talent management is being quickly replaced by people management. People management meaning you're managing the whole person. Understanding Sarah has maybe 5 children, a husband, a home, something else to do. She's the one who's caring for the mother because she's a firstborn. Over and beyond just talent. Because if you just want, traditionally we used to hire talent, it is something abstract. I hire you for your time, you come, you deliver, you go. Today you can no longer do that. And so we have to look at the importance of having talent, engagement, and trust, because those are the things that are going to drive performance. And when we are talking about engagement, there are 3 levels of being able to actually engage people. The first level is through rational engagement. So you let people know what is expected of them so that when you're coming to measure their performance, they already knew. But just because I know what is expected of me does not mean I want to do it. Does not mean I feel motivated to wake up in the morning or on time, sit up and do it, call that client, deliver on that task. So motivation is very key. You have to make them know what they expected of them, but also make them want to do it. And finally, you must go to the emotional level, especially in this time. Get that employee to feel that they love what they do, they love the team they do it for, they love the boss they do it for, and they love the company that they do it for. So it's very, very important when you're thinking about performance and even deploying those tools that you want to use to monitor people. It's important that you understand these levels. So what are some of the practical monitoring tools? First things first, I want to talk about privacy. There are laws in each country, and I think it is up to us to go and check on privacy laws, and some are actually in bills. I've been talking to quite a few HR people, and they're saying now new bills are coming up in different countries around the privacy laws, because obviously this is going to become a big deal. I can't see you, we are not sitting in the same city. I'm here delivering this webinar, and my team is sitting in different parts of the city. And they are supporting me, and they have been supporting me since morning in my morning webinars. And so how do I ensure they are going to do what they need to do? There's a webinar I think we did again with ABMC, and I said one of the key things that we need to do is to start managing deliverables and managing outcomes, not managing time. Even in the days when I was a HR director, I used to ensure that managers help employees to understand what they need to do, rather than them thinking they want to play big brother and start monitoring every move of this employee. So what are some of the things we need to do as we start to effectively process the re-engineering of our performance post-COVID? As HRs, we have to still go back and be guided by laws if there are any. And I always say, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's ethical. Again, even if in your country it is legal for you to go and start snooping maybe on an employee's computer or whatever, is it ethical? Now, let me talk about where the laws put a borderline. You have to ask yourself, the machines, Sarah today is expected to call clients using her phone. She's expected to write to a client using her own laptop that she bought with, her own money, it's licensed in my name and everything. That laptop belongs to me, and that phone belongs to me. So when you start monitoring anything that I am doing within the confines of that, there needs to be a very good policy. And so you see here, there's laws, then there's a handbook, and we'll have many of us to go back, sit down, either with experts or ourselves, and reorganize our handbooks and make them very humane. As I said, we are now in people management. And then look at the policies that are going to guide us. Because you can't just tell people, first of all, you've told people to go and sit at home. Based on which policy? Do you even have a remote working policy and a remote working performance policy? So those policies have to be embedded. You need to adjust and then put in the procedures that you want people to follow on certain things. So, and we'll look at different areas that we want to monitor, but it's important, first of all, to ask yourself, who owns the tools that you're trying to monitor? I would suggest and highly recommend, if you really want to go big brother and monitor things or manage, or you have managers who are micromanagers, then fine, but please buy your tools. Embed the software in your tools. Write a policy and get it signed and consulted with the employees and then signed by them, that they know they are being monitored on this laptop, which belongs to the organization and this phone. If possible, create workflow charts so that they see even during onboarding and whatever, and you will need certain templates, as I said, if they need to sign something. So what are some of the methods that we are going to look at? Monitoring methods include keystroking. We can look at how people log and type up. We can monitor GPS. I've helped many organizations where they want to know where their staff are. They work in different countries or different spaces. So GPS tracking, internet monitoring, maybe surveillance on employees, checking their web surfing time, their emails, their whatever. I had a really interesting story. In this space, I hear it all. And just recently, a friend of mine who also runs a consulting just like mine said to me that she was talking to one of her employees, and because she had put a monitoring tool, she could actually see this employee is talking from a different city. That's one. And he's busy pulling CVs that they had received from people, and he's pulling the CVs, changing the logo and the names down, and changing a few things, putting somebody else's name and sending back, and sending to another organization using this tool that belonged to her and had the monitoring software in it. So you see the things that can be done. I've sat actually in a disciplinary session whereby we are monitoring somebody and we have been calling them to attend the session. They've been saying, oh, there's no light, we can't, I don't know, I'm having internet connection problems and everything. And right now, like on this platform, I was speaking to the team that is helping us in the backstage, and they are sitting in a different country. I'm in a different country, and we've been since morning working together, and with my team as well. So I could see this person who doesn't want to go for disciplinary action, saying, again, here we are, something has cut, and we could see. I just got an intern in technology, and I worked in the tech space. Maybe that's why I was given this topic. We could see it all, and we could monitor anything. We can also monitor corporate resource working hours. We can look at creating definitely an acceptable use policy that staff must agree to, and that is something very, very key. There are many tools out there, and I would welcome you to go just Google and see what is good for your own context and can help you. So you can look at Interguard, Factorial, Time Doctor, TerraMind, WorkPlus. There are so many tools out there that you can actually look at and you can think of pulling together. However, I just want to look at some of the tools that we can think of. And I want to mention that you have to be very diverse and inclusive and make sure that these tools do not make one group feel put aside and another group actually feel very included. Because this era is going to make certain groups feel unincluded. So there are certain tools when you're looking at good diversity. Microsoft, My Analytics is very important. It's a good tool because it's exclusive to Outlook. I use Outlook myself and Microsoft customers. So some of these tools are actually exclusive to certain platforms. So the platform helps you to pull data from multiple Office 365 sources and to help you to figure out where your employees are spending their hours. Are they spending their time on email, or is it in meetings, like Microsoft Teams, or focusing on core work that it needs to be done? And it can even guide you through its analytics to set goals for the future, such as minimizing the time that people spend in meetings and so they can spend more time on email. When we look at Time Doctor, it's a really good one because Time Doctor will help you to time track. And it's also a behavioral tracking software, which is designed especially for remote teams. And so if you have teams that are working remotely and everything, this will feature for you automatic regular reporting so that you can actually keep track of how. And also there's another one you can go and Google called Time Task. That's also a good one. So those ones you can actually use so that you can follow up. There's also Slack out there, which is not in here. And with the Slack one, at least you can find pieces that are really good in terms of people being able to log on at night and share for themselves what are the key things that they have been working on that day. Go and check out Factorial. It connects with all sorts of different add-on tools and ensures that your performance management system integrates very well. When used with Zapier, this tool can score very highly when it comes to integration. So you can integrate it with your Google Calendar. You can integrate with Outlook, with Gmail, and with hundreds of other available tools using your Zapier account, which helps with integrations. And finally, there's Orange HRM, which is a performance management software that can provide peer-to-peer feedback. For those of us who love the 360 feedback, all these things actually can be driven by some of these tools. And so it features many features which include performance tracking, revisions, and 360 workflows, and many more in a very good space. When companies are looking at monitoring the employees, why do they monitor and why should they not? So I want to just establish a few things. First, maybe you want to establish facts that are relevant to the business. Then yes, monitoring is for you. Maybe you want to check standards and the quality of people's work. Maybe you want to check for an authorized use, like I told you the example of my friend who somebody was using and actually pulling down documents and changing the logo and everything and sending out to another competition company. And then why not? And why not? Why should we be careful before we start monitoring our employees? One, you can create untrustworthiness between the employer and the employee. Sometimes you can't verify where your employees are spending their work hours. Maybe the tool is not helping you, or it can raise legal concerns about privacy, which I've spoken about. So check your country laws, know what the guidance is there, know where the barriers are. The line between work and home may be blurred. People often see the same devices for both. So it's important that you really have policies around the devices for work and where monitoring might cross the line. And also, it means that you might pick up some extra data that can be misused, or if it falls in the wrong hands, it can also be misused. However, if you work in sectors that have data that can help national security, have data that can help the organization itself and maybe even the industry and whatever. Those are the times that actually you can use this. Remember that it's important to motivate your employees, especially when you want to do performance management. So even if you feel that I'm asking questions around your tasks, what you're doing, how you're spending your time, ensure that we are motivating you, and don't tell me that you motivated people last week, so you don't need to motivate them today. It's just like a shower. You need to continuously do it, especially for your employees, and think about it. It's also important to foster a performance culture so that even when you start monitoring them, when you start deploying these tools, you don't meet resistance. Reward behavior. We sometimes only reward performance, which is technical. We need to reward behavior based on the company values. We need to ensure managers and employees are fostering positive, authentic relationships so that when feedback is given, it's real feedback. Invest in employee development. You cannot expect people to perform and you haven't developed them. So ensuring that you continuously, in fact, we are saying the best 100 top companies in the world put enough time in learning and development and research and development during any recession. And this is the time for us to do that as well. Make sure all the tools that I've shared with you today and any ones that you find out there, you actually use them with empathy. You actually deploy them while understanding the human, the holistic person. And finally, reward and recognition must continue to help a great performance culture. You cannot expect performance and not reward. Remember traits of achieving good results as HR, we need to give frequent feedback, be role model leaders, use our strengths, be honest about ourselves and others. Diversity, as I've said, is very critical. Hire your weakness and make sure that you understand people are working in the right team profile. And with that, I say thank you and welcome you. Any questions that you might have. Over to you.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that.
Thank you.
So actually, we have a question that has been posed to you by Jean. And how do you ensure that you do not affect your employees' engagement? Would this be a good strategy, or you want to create a culture whereby your employees can work independently and deliver as expected?
One of the key things, especially if you're doing performance monitoring and using any of these tools, it is important to be open and to really share with the employees. And that's why I said, if they can sign up to it, they know they are using the organization's devices and they are being monitored, and their why. I always say those who know what can get the job, but it's those who know how that get the job done. But it's those who know why that are the bosses of those who know what and those who know how. So the person who can answer why. If you're a HR professional out there, let me just give you the best advice is anything you do has to go under DD. Defendable. Make defendable decisions. Do not just go out there and start telling people you're monitoring them. You start because you want performance and nothing else. Employees can really play with you. I mean, when we put the keystroke logging in our computers because we worked in the tech space and we wanted to see how much time people are spending typing in Word, how many times they're going to the internet, social media, and everything. It didn't give us much back except resistance and hostility. And these people went on all other devices to waste our time. They would open their computer and they would leave it running and the keystrokes are going because they have placed a banana or something on top of it. So also trust is very, very important. Engagement, as I said, the 3 levels, but going deeply into the emotional engagement will drive performance much faster. When you trust, when there's talent, and when you are open with people and explaining the why you are putting this, the what's in it for them, what's in it for you, believe you me, the performance will actually go higher.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah, for that. Really appreciate your time. And before you just go, I would like you to kindly just give us one name of somebody that you would want us to give a book giveaway.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
After every session, we are giving at least 2 people books giveaway. So I would like you to kindly give us probably 2 names of somebody that some people that you think can be able to benefit from that.
Okay, so are they on this platform? Because I can't see their names.
Yes, probably. Let me just inform anyone who can be able. let's see. We have Caroline. Maybe you can check from the Q&A. Somebody was asked your question, or also maybe somebody who has been able to just say something on the discussion panel.
Okay. Let me see what my people are saying. Enjoying the session. We are helpful. That's Caroline. Cheer, cheer. Yes, Caroline should definitely get a book.
Oh, excellent.
Hi, Sarah. All the monitoring tools mentioned require a bit of tech know-how. True. I can see what Stella is asking here. So what if other companies have not had that privilege? What other smart means are available for monitoring that are not technologically related? I mean, it depends, Stella, whether you're face-to-face with these people, because I can easily monitor people I can see. But if we're talking about a remote workforce, definitely you'll need to look at a different technology to actually help you. Some technologies actually give you, and as I said, most of them come with things we already have. So many techies tell me, Sarah, people don't know how to use the full capacity of Microsoft or 365. They buy the whole thing, and then they use it. It's like buying a smartphone, and you use it only for making calls. Yet it can do your calendar, your whatever. So I suggest you go to your IT department and ask them, what is the full add-ons in terms of your Microsoft package, if that is what you're using, or any other one. So, and I'm answering Stella as I'm saying, please give her a book, because she really asked a good question. In terms of phones and everything, there's free apps as well. You can go to like Google Store and everything and download free apps. Whether it is for monitoring, for me, I use them maybe monitoring children or whatever, but you can download them to monitor employees or embed them even from the phone companies that you guys buy. Thank you, Stella, for the question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah, for your time. We really appreciate that. And as advised, we'll have Jane, Stella, and Caroline having each a book from your session. Thank you so much, Sarah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So right now we're going to have, I think I'll do 5 minutes break instead of 10 minutes, because let me just, I think we're going to have, let's have a 5 minutes break, because, just a minute. You'll have to go to the effective communication and employees management strategies. So that means in the next 6 minutes, because of time, we'll go now to the sixth room, which is effective communication and employee management. Thank you so much.
We are Artist Life, and we offer you not only a healthy life, but a life with purpose. We are a global lifestyle company with the most dynamic nutritional, skincare, body shaping, and weight management products available in the world. Artis is changing lives. You can be next. Discover new cultures. Experience freedom your way. We at Artis believe so strongly in our products that we want to pay you for referring each of them to your friends. Artist Life offers a variety of distinct, life-changing product lines. We are here to help people look better, feel better, and live better. Lviv makes your insides feel good, and it shows. 72-hour weight loss gets you started right on a positive lifestyle. Body Magic drops your dress size instantly. 2 minutes wrinkle-free smooths wrinkles in just 2 minutes, giving you the appearance of youth and beauty that you feel inside. Artis relies on individuals like you to reach the world with their incredible products. Refer a Friend is at the center of the Artist Life business, because who wouldn't want their friends to live and feel better? Here's where you fit in. You try our products firsthand. Let them change your life. And then you show your friends, everyone you like, and even people you don't like, how they too can live life better. The more you spread the love, the more you reap the rewards. Our our program offers you the chance to discover luxury travel, experience freedom with your very own new car, create a legacy of other powerful rewards, and generate a solid residual monthly and yearly income easily. Our vibrant, youthful, life-enhancing products can be shared globally in over 7 continents and 56 countries and territories around the world. Find out more about our life-changing programs by talking to the person who recommended this video. We are Artis Life. An appointment with Artis will change your life.
Thanks so much for inviting me to share this on this topic on effective communications and employee engagement. So I'll just go ahead and share my great. So let me just introduce the subject. Peter Drucker said that the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. Now, we are sharing, on communication regarding what we are to do in terms of communicating to employees post-COVID. And since COVID can be considered as a crisis, we will be looking at how to communicate post-crisis and post-COVID. And so it's important to for organizations and organizational leaders and managers to listen more and feel more rather than talk more. And that is what Peter Drucker sought to say. Let me take this opportunity to introduce myself. In just a minute, I am a keynote speaker and a corporate trainer based here in Accra, Ghana. I have been in this industry for 17 years now, and over 15 years, and 9 years as an SPHR certified human resource management practitioner. I am also listed as a mediator arbitrator class A with the National Labour Commission, and I do a lot of online mediation also for other countries. I'm an author as well, with one book called Career Toolkit for Successful Job Hunting. And I hope that with this background, I am able to share with you something, very credible regarding communication post-COVID. Now, I'll be going through 5 major areas within the context of communication, effective communication post-COVID, and also how to manage employees post-COVID. So we'll look at why we need to even communicate post-COVID. Why does it matter? Why is it important? Can we just call in people to come to work and work goes on as usual? Or that we need to strategize and plan exactly how to communicate. And we're going to look at that. Who should do the communication? If at all we are supposed to communicate, who should be doing the communication? We'll look at that as well. Then what should be the message? What should be communicated? And then how should the communication be done post-COVID? And then finally, I'll share, some details on managing employees post-COVID. Now, let's go straight into the presentation. Why do we have to communicate post-COVID? Post-crisis communication normally is to ensure that things return back to normal as quick and as fast as possible. So post-COVID, we are looking at a new normal where possibly we may even be living with the virus until we have found, an antidote to the virus. So in communicating post-COVID and post-crisis, we will be communicated to reassess our situation, reassess the business and see how, where we stand and what we can do to still continue sustaining, the business. we need to repair, because after such crisis, a lot of things would have been done to destabilize the normal things. And so we need to look at the things that we have done wrong, or things that have gone wrong, or things that are out of place, and then bring them back, to the normal, which then means that we'll be repairing. We also need to rebuild. We need to rebuild, not because we might have crumbled per se, but we need to rebuild, reshape, and to make sure that we have a business that can withstand the new normal. Because things are not going to be the same, and we cannot continue to do things the same. We need to rebuild to fit, the new normal. Then we also have to reassure everyone that we are still here and we care for them. So as a business, the message to stakeholders, suppliers, subcontractors, employees, and colleagues should be that we are there, we are still here, we are still going on, and we are still together. So that reassurance is needed. So assuming that, some employees might have lost, some loved ones, they would be emotionally shaken. They may not be too psychologically ready for the workplace. And so coming back to the workplace, they will need assurance that the organization, their colleagues, their leaders, their supervisors, they are there for them. Then we need to re-engage. We need to reopen channels of communication, and then renew relationships. People would have, in crisis, bonds are formed, relationships are formed. And so we need to look and focus on renewing, relationships, renewing within the new normal, so that we can build together and sustain the business together. And for me, these are the key reasons why I believe that communication must be strategic post-COVID, especially in the workplace. And I call these the 6 R's of post-COVID-19 communication. Why should we communicate? Who should communicate? Who should communicate? We've gone through why we should communicate, and I believe I've been able to make a good point about why it's important to communicate strategically post-COVID. Now we want to look at who should be doing the communication. And so when you look at the bottom of the presentation screen, you see the MD CEO. We must have one mouthpiece when we are communicating post-COVID. One person must lead the major communication theme for which everybody will fall in line. So supervisors and managers, the issues and discussions and decisions and policies from the board and ESCO, heads of department, must all go through the MD CEO to the employees and to other stakeholders that may be related directly to the workplace. Under these circumstances, we will be sure that employees or stakeholders will not get misinformation. They will not get different, vibes coming from different people. And the MD must be well versed in the articulation of the message, so that he will take responsibility, take everything, the communication onto his shoulders, and then give it out in a way that shows, an empathic positioning, and also that we are here for you and we need your support and we need each other to go on. And so it is about one mouthpiece. Someone may ask, why not have the human resource manager or the head of human resource do the communication? It's about leadership, and it's about showing care and accountability and responsibility. And so I believe, within this context, who the person to lead the communication should be the MD CEO. What should be communicated? First of all, it's just normal. It's given that we will have to communicate the new work rules within the new normal. So it's important to do this. So it's easy to assume that yes, those things would have to be communicated. But how they are communicated is important. They have to be made simpler and easy to break down, and so that it is not technical and complicated for people to understand the new rules that people are supposed to work. And it has to be communicated through all the communication channels that the organization uses to reach its employees and stakeholders. Another thing that I find very, very important that should be communicated should be the organizational values. You know, when we go through crisis, then our values are tested. Assuming that we had specific values as an organization, say integrity, teamwork, and so on. And within the context of COVID, these got tested, and we found that some of the values do not even fit. We need to re-evaluate, you know, the context of our values and the culture we want to project post-COVID, and communicate new values. So whether we are communicating the same values or new values, it's important that we focus on communicating and reminding people of the values that we share within the organization. Then we need to communicate, very important, this is a psychological exercise, to communicate support protocols for employees, that employees might have gone through some difficult times and they need to be reassured and told that, look, if you need help, we have ABCD in place to be able to help you to settle back down into work. The last one is the communication channels and protocols for which people should pass on information or receive information. You know, crisis sometimes destabilizes everything and breaks down the chains of communication. So we need to reestablish the communication channels and communicate the ones that actually work and can be relied upon. So if you have a hurricane as a crisis to deal with, for example, you are sure that electronic communication, phones and other things will go off. So post such crisis, the channels of communication you available to be used will change. And that is what I mean, that, you know, post-COVID, it is not all the communication channels that you use, an organization was used to, that may be still in place. And so the new communication channels, if there's any, must be communicated. And there are several more, you know, things that should be communicated. But for time, and I believe these are the four major ones that we should look at. Then, what medium should be used? Definitely, we should use the traditional mediums of communication. And that's why in the previous slide, I was talking about, you know, communicating the channels of available communication, right? Channels through which people can communicate it. So the ones that worked for your organization is what you focus on. And it could be electronic. And electronic, you know, is at the base of this pyramid, because I believe that post-COVID, you know, and during the COVID crisis, a lot of communication has been done electronically, and that has become possibly the new normal. And so it will take up more, maybe 70% of all communication going forward after COVID. Because once we are living with the virus, we can still not go back to mingling and associating physically and sharing information face-to-face as we used to that easily. We will do that with caution. So I feel electronic communication is going to be, you know, the broader and easier way of communicating post-COVID. Then we have the normal non-electronic communication that will also come in, because often, even when you send something electronically, you back it with hard copies. So that is also going to not go away easily because of that. So yes, official letters, memos, notice boards, posters, and other notices are going to be relevant in, you know, the workplace post-COVID. Then comes face-to-face communication, meetings, briefings, presentations, debates. Those are still going to be done. But of course, if COVID is available, then it will be done within the context of the health protocols of social distancing and enhanced hygiene, right? Then the last one is going to be physical contact and socializing. Socializing, the new normal is going to see socializing go really down, you know, physical networking, visits, you know, corporate retreats, receptions. Those things are going to be thought about carefully before, even if it has to be done, it will be done. And post-COVID, I don't see it as a very typical, common, medium for which people would communicate. So yes, how then do we communicate post-COVID? Dr. Nasilav of the Pulse Institute in the US, developed what we call the GHOST principles and protocols. GHOST really just stands for communication, gently, honestly, openly, and specific talk. And it's important that in post-COVID, like I said, communication must be simple and direct and not complicated and too technical. It has to be such that it can be understood easily. And the best for me is to communicate in a way that shows empathy, that is gentle, honesty, because we communicate the truth and we face everybody openly and honestly. And we do not communicate amidst classes. We communicate directly and openly to everybody, in ways that they can easily understand. And we always have to be specific, when we are communicating post-COVID. This technique of GHOST principle is one that I've used a lot in my mediation sessions. And if you're doing, for example, facilitative, mediation, it helps a lot in stabilizing emotions. It encourages assurance, or it gives assurance and attracts positive, feedback from the audience and from the targeted audience. So this approach is one approach that I believe post-COVID would be very, very helpful to organizations who need to communicate to their employees and stakeholders. Then again, communication and the message is easy to craft, but how it is delivered and the medium through which it is delivered is important. Assuming that we get the medium for which we are delivering it right, you will find that how we then articulate or how we deliver the communication message or the material is so important, and that is what is going to have people buy in or push it away, So, for example, I believe so much in the art of articulation, and it is a strong competency that every leader must have, every human resource manager must have, every manager must have, that you can have a message, but how you deliver it is important. And what constitutes an excellent articulation? It projects confidence that you know what you are talking about, sincerity that what you are talking about you believe in as true, and you deliver as though you are connected to the people you are, as though you are one with them and you feel what they are feeling, and you are communicating, to have them be better and to be more comfortable. It projects bonding, that teamwork, that we are in it together, and I am not here and you are there, that we are one and we are moving together forward, and succeeding and achieving together. It also projects empathy and oneness. And so this technique of articulation would help, for post-COVID, communication. How do you do this? You plan your words carefully, you rehearse your points over and over and in your head and make sure that you know exactly what you want to communicate. That brings the confidence. Then you monitor your delivery vis-a-vis within the context of the reactions you are getting and kind of adapt, to suit the moods of the people. And then use storytelling, talk about people's stories that people can learn from and be encouraged of, or your own story. Model your delivery after others. We know, for example, that Barack Obama, speaks very well and very fluently. One other person that I really, really respect when it comes to delivery of an articulation, of messages is Nelson Mandela. Soft, clear, empathetic, and solid, yet deep, to the point. That is one way of, articulating very nicely in terms of communication. And then you need to have a bold ending. You need to have some encouraging words at the tail end of your communication so that something people can relate to and ponder about. So that if they didn't hear anything at all, and throughout the time you were talking all those sweet words, they might have been daydreaming or something. The end, that bold ending must wake them up to hear at least. And so that sometimes will go with, a higher tone of the voice or a deeper emotion or any way that you do it to show that, the ending is, bold and helpful, and it calls for attention and gets people to ponder about it. How then do we manage employees? In my view, how we should manage employees post-COVID. We should manage emotions and psyche. We should manage work schedules, and we are managing the work schedules for more efficiency and the simplicity of the work, so that when pre-COVID work was cumbersome, post-COVID we should be looking at, post-crisis we should be looking at better ways of doing things. And so managing work schedules is important. So the employees' work schedules is important. How we manage performance is also important, so that, for example, we used to have issues in the workplace about presenteeism and disengaged workers, where workers are available, present, marked present, but they cannot, they are not delivering, So performance must be measured by what employees deliver. And that is one very important thing, to be managed regarding employees post-COVID. Then the height of it is about creating a safe environment, safe, healthy, secure environment where employees will work without bothering that they may catch the virus or somebody would infect them or they may infect others. We need to encourage employees through the health and safety protocols to wear their PPEs and respect the social distancing, protocols. And so these are, the things that I believe we can do to manage employees. And in the end, when you look at all the connections of these four things that I believe should be managed in employees, then we are looking at increased profitability. Because if we manage emotions well of employees, and we manage their work schedules well in the case where they are more productive and more engaged, we measure their performance better, and we can reward them and motivate them better, and we create a safe and conducive environment, secure, for work within the context of living with the virus, then I believe that, the workplace will be a better place, and then will be more profitable as a business. Let me end with Barack Obama's, quotation on the fact that it's important to make sure that we are talking with each other in a way that heals, not in a way that wounds. And this post-COVID is not a time to settle scores. It is a time to come together. It is a time to hold hands and share our pain and our joys, and share in our sorrows and achievements within the context of the virus, and act together for a better future, not only for ourselves, but for our colleagues, and also for the business. Let's build and innovate post-COVID for a better organization, and let's continue to strive to communicate well with each other, so that post-COVID we can succeed and sustain the business within the context of living with the virus. I thank you so much for your attention, and at this stage I think we can take questions and have a discussion.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Singh, for that excellent presentation. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Probably you can go now to the question and answer.
Yeah.
Yes, we have a question from Pamela. In such times, we need to communicate, and so you don't think including other stakeholders apart from MDs and CEOs is important?
Can you read the question again?
In such times, we need to communicate, and communicate. I don't know what he meant, but don't you think including other stakeholders apart from the CEO and MD is important? Including other, I think she's asking, don't you think that including other stakeholders in such communications is also important?
Oh yes, I mean I keep using okay, let me start this way. The concept of pre-crisis communication is to communicate through one mouthpiece. So there will be one message that will be carried by, so for a country, the president, for an organization, the CEO. Some organizations try to use the executive chairman or the board chairman. But for employees, if we are focusing on the workplace, it would be the CEO. Every other manager, department head, and the rest will carry that same message that the CEO is giving and then expand onto it. And that is the concept I am proposing. The fact also remains that when we are communicating as an organization, we may not be communicating only to employees. We may be communicating also to like suppliers. And even if we talk about employees, we have third-party employees where we have, in an organization, we can have employees of like outsourced employees or employees of subcontractors on site doing some work, and then of course our suppliers employees who may be on site working, and then the suppliers themselves. So the message often goes to, for example, more than or a little more than the employees themselves, but under those circumstances, it should be delivered through one mouthpiece so that we do not have multiple messages coming at people at the same time post crisis when we are communicating with employees. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for that. And then also we have the second question, which is looking at the medium, that is from Jane, looking at the medium of communication pyramid, electronic channel is mostly used and everyone understands well why. However, embedding technology across your business is costly, and COVID-19 made it worse financially. How would then SMEs and startup companies deal with it to keep on running?
Great. The cost of communicating electronically. The truth is that even before COVID, electronic communication was expensive. But what I believe is that for an SME that is not too large, it is helpful to use, innovative ways, and trying hard to maximize technology, okay, or optimize technology. So instead of going for expensive technology, I believe you can always find some affordable technology that you can use. For example, there's this platform, there's the Zoom platform. These days, even Facebook is giving some video platform for which people can use at minimized cost. So I think innovation does not necessarily mean high cost. We need to innovate, think outside the box. And when we are developing our electronic communication system, we look at what is available, what works for us, and what is cheaper but efficient. The watchword is to make sure that we do not sacrifice efficiency on the altar of cost, or value. So we should try and get value, but as less expensive as possible. Joseph.
Okay, thank you. And the last question is how do you ensure a balance between sensitivity to humanity and communication that conforms to COVID precautions without dehumanizing our institutions? And the citizens they serve. That is from Serbia.
Okay, that's a lot of English. Please repeat so that I can pick the specific words in there again.
How do we ensure a balance between sensitivity to humanity and communication that conforms to the precautions, that is COVID-19 precautions, without dehumanizing our institutions and the citizens they serve?
Exactly. So, what I'm trying to project in this presentation is the fact that we need to project a human face as institutions when dealing with our employees post-COVID. So we are trying to demystify the straight-jacketed, hardcore communication that was very common to a lot of organizations pre-COVID. You know, that communication that says it is only production and you don't matter. Deliver, 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 you know, and nothing else matters. We don't care how you do it, just do it. We want to move from that to an organization that is saying that we know that we have suffered together, but we have to get back on track. Let's get into the boat together. We care about you. Whatever you need to be able to make it happen, we are there for you. And together we will build, together we will move forward. That is the kind of post-crisis communication we want to learn. And that is what I'm trying to project in this presentation.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Senyi, for that excellent presentation. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thank you, William.
Okay. So, delegates, what will happen is that on the next session, we're going to have a back-to-back. So, we really are suggesting that you go to the next room immediately. That is the breakout session 2, strategies implemented to manage productivity and talent evaluation. Kindly, let's just go to that session right now because of time. Thank you. Can you hear? Can you be able to hear us?
Yes.
All right, excellent. You can be able to take it away. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for this opportunity to come and share with you. As has been introduced already, I've just shared my PowerPoint up there. Hopefully you can see it clearly. I'm speaking to you on a subject: what are the strategies for managing productivity and talent evaluation? This topic is very essential because we are talking about issues of talent here. We are talking about issues of productivity. Every single organization that exists needs strategies in order to survive in the new normal that we are getting into. Productivity has always been a key issue. Productivity will continue to be a key issue even in the new normal. There's no one who starts a business and does not expect anything out of that particular business. So it's an honor to be presenting this particular topic. I want to skin the three animals that we have in the room at this point in time. The topic says strategies that are implemented to manage productivity and talent evaluation. What therefore is a strategy? Simply put, a strategy is how you plan to win. When you go to war, you need a strategy. When you go into the battlefield, you need strategy. When you go into the marketplace, you also need strategy. The other animal in the room that we need to skin is the issue of productivity. We're talking about managing productivity as leaders, as HR practitioners. How do we manage productivity? And what is this animal? It's a measure of efficiency. In other words, we are putting in inputs, the ratio of inputs to our outputs. We are trying to maximize the use of resources that we have accessible to us. We don't have an infinite pool of resources, and there's always that pressure to say, how can we do more with what we have? Organizations are as strong as the resources they have, and talent is one such resource. As a matter of fact, productivity is a factor of how far organizations can go in as far as maximizing those available resources. And the third animal I'm about to skin is the one on talent evaluation. What is to evaluate is to examine. What is to evaluate is to assess and look at a situation and come up with conclusion. In this particular instance, we are talking about examining skills and the potential for skill and be able to position these for achievement of organizational goals. Very, very critical for us to be able to do that. Let's look at where have we been? What's the historical context as we try and unearth and unpack this particular topic? For nearly a century, productivity has been closely tied to time and space, measured in terms of how many hours a worker spends at a designated workstation. People would say, you have come in late, you are in at 5 after 8 and the work starts at 8. It has always been a factor where people are supervising you and measuring you according to how punctual you are using your time. But this has to change. The time has come for this to change. Where have we been? We are measuring people based on physical presence. Are you here? Versus the issue of cognitive output. Every single individual needs to be measured by the output they produce. Remember, I said productivity is a factor of how much you have produced in comparison to what we have put in. Hours are a relic. In other words, it's an old tradition, a tradition of the past that may be appropriate back then. In this day and age, it may be appropriate in the assembly line type of work. But in a knowledge economy that we are in, post-pandemic era, this won't make sense. The problem is that for most organizations, they are not willing to just get off the issue of hours because they don't have a good replacement for it. And this is what I'm talking about today. So as I unpack issues of productivity, there are 3 dimensions to just unpack very quickly. The first one is the soft issues. The personal issues, the motivation, the employee wellness. It's a factor of productivity. If you don't touch on this issue, you affect how people become productive. They may be working remotely, but these softer issues need to be touched on. Are they motivated enough? But there's also organizational perspective in as far as people, processes, and systems are concerned. If people don't have access to resources, don't expect them to produce miracles. If the processes are so archaic and are not agile enough to be able to accommodate the new normal that you're getting into, we also have a challenge. But more than anything, the systems themselves need to be upgraded. I'll talk about a few in a moment. There's also a third element of productivity, which is the environmental or external factors. When you look at COVID, for example, when you look at the political, economic, social, technological, legal issues, environmental issues, all these are external to our business, to the organization, and they have to also be adhered to because they do affect issues of productivity. Let's paint a picture of the reality today. We now have this sort of reality. When you look at issues of virtual meetings, we need to redefine how we measure productivity. Because our reality right now talks about the fact that people are working remotely. We need to realize that there's a rise of the gig economy and the issue of flexible working hours. Redefining how you measure and manage productivity can be a daunting task. Many people find it very challenging. But maintaining the status quo, in other words, where we have been, is more often difficult in the face of the remote working teams that we have in this day and age. The issue is about making sure that people stay engaged. We need to make sure that as we measure productivity, we measure it in a manner that keeps our talent engaged, because engaged employees are productive employees. We need to move away from the issue of emphasizing hours and to emphasize output. All right. And what is very critical is that this sort of mechanism needs trust. It's built on the bedrock of trust. People are not working where you are. So in other words, you're not monitoring the time. Some work at midnight. Accountability remains a key element. But what we need as business leaders, an important prerequisite is that business leaders need to unlearn the old ways and begin to embrace the new ways. If you're stuck in tradition, you risk running your business down. So even in the manner in which we deliver contracts, that's another key issue as well. We looked at permanent contracts before. We used to delve on that, but there's a new way in which we need to look at this. What are the key productivity strategies that we need to look at going into the future? I'll highlight just a few. There could be many. And I'll show them all at once, just so that in the interest of time, you have them. First of all, and this is a key element, the reward mechanisms are very key in as far as productivity is concerned. The time has come to introduce productivity-based pay. Instead of just doing the fixed salary increases that we've been dealing with over the years to cover hyperinflation and so forth, we need to now introduce monthly productivity bonuses. This is actually based on simple and easy to understand targets that will make a difference. You're talking productivity here. This is a time when leaders now need to be taught on how to run results-based type of leadership. What does this talk about? This is essentially being able to set clear goals in every job and for every job particularly, and the actual time that you need that work to be done on, focusing on whether the result is being delivered or not necessarily whether the person is working at their workstation or not. At the end of the day, what we want is results. Remember, in life, we're not rewarded for good intentions. We are rewarded for results. Very key to understand. You'll notice that during the COVID era, which is where we are in right now, we've seen some jobs that we don't need 100% all the time. So it's now necessary to actually introduce the time-based contracts, where someone can actually work for us for only for the 2 days in a week and go away. For example, cleaners, and there are certain kind of roles that we need to identify in as far as the reward mechanisms are concerned. I already spoke about the issue of the gig economy, where people can work for you and work elsewhere. This is becoming a rise. No longer should we hold on to employees. We want to make sure that the actual time that has been worked is what we focus on, not the actual work that has been produced is what we focus on, not headcount, not bragging about how many people we are. Why keep so many people when fewer people can do the job and they don't need to necessarily sit in your office? There are different applications that are available out there that are able to measure productivity, and I'll talk about some in a moment. The key pillar, number 2, learning and development. People are motivated. When you talk about productivity, you need to identify new skills. The new economy needs new skills. We need accelerated learning. We need to clarify our expectations. People will only produce to the level of their understanding of what you require. This is a key pillar. People need to know their job. They need to have the necessary skill, but they also need to know what management expects of them. A key pillar in terms of productivity and the strategy is the issue of refining our culture. I talked earlier on about the fact that culture trumps everything. Culture, sorry to use the word trump, but culture can really redefine and affect how we produce in our environment. Everyone has tested remote working and flexibility. Many will want to continue that way. The true meaning of work-life balance and work-life integration has also been found. You notice that. But there are some strategies that you may need very briefly for building a remote culture. Remember, the culture of the kingdom emanates from the culture of the king, which is what we call tone at the top. We need to be modeling it as business practitioners, as HR practitioners, as CEOs and the C-suite. Model what it is to build a new culture, how it is to operate from a remote location. So work-life integration, how do I build the remote culture? What are the regular rituals? What are some of the things? When do people check in? You're building a culture here. Define how you work together. Teamwork makes the dream work. Schedule some FaceTime where people can have those Zoom meetings or meetings of this nature, trainings happening online, collecting feedback regularly and making the necessary adjustments. Very, very important. Gone are the days when we would collect feedback every half year, end of year, and do a performance review. Now it's a regular collection of feedback and people being corrected on the fly. But we need to find creative ways of keeping people engaged as well as mentoring them. Remember, we are building a new culture and we are also ensuring that people are motivated wherever they are. But let's not forget a key element that affects productivity. Key strategy that you need to be thinking about safety and well-being of employees. It's a key pillar that I talked about at the beginning when I talked about the fact that it's one of the 3 dimensions of productivity. When I talked about the softer issues, safety and well-being is one of the key elements. Are they safe where they are? People can't be productive when they're feeling insecure. So these are some of the key considerations. Protect your people wherever they are. Communicate effectively in times of uncertainty, maintaining continuity of work. And remember, you're talking about safety and well-being, because all these elements affect somebody's idea of, am I still secure where I am? Access the workforce cost, and of course, prepare for recovery of the business. You're ensuring that people have got the necessary safety net for them to be able to ensure that the business keeps moving in the right direction. Moving right along, the issue of there's a delicate balance when we're talking about this issue. Employee well-being at the center of productivity and performance, and the balance is we want to drive productivity and performance whilst addressing those employee concerns. Yes, some organizations may look at this and say that productivity has become very costly, but if people are not engaged, if people are not secure, you will not be able to drive productivity to the next level. Let's look at issues of remote productivity. There's some hacks that I want to introduce and just give you an understanding of, as more and more people are working away from you, what is it that you need to be able to do in order to make sure productivity remains at its topmost? First of all, there's need to maintain a results-oriented culture. That links back to what we talked about earlier on. The saying goes, if it doesn't get measured, it doesn't get done. We need to maintain a results-oriented culture, and this ensures that everybody's productivity is measured by the results, regardless of where they are. Don't be concerned about where people are. It's all about results. I talked about results-based leadership earlier on. Every team should set their own goals and work towards achieving those. Measure based on results, not on how many hours somebody has been working. The key element that we're worth talking about also is about setting clear goals and deadlines. In the same way that the team in the office, communicate clear goals and deadlines. Use CRM, customer relationship management tools to track activity and progress. Some tools that exist, I would share some examples. We use in our office HubSpot. Wherever people are, log on to HubSpot, keep us updated on who have we talked to, who is talking where. The left hand knows what the right hand is doing. There's what is known as Pivotal Tracker and Basecamp. What is another key element in terms of increasing that productivity? Form plans to increase accountability. Very, very critical. We all know and understand that team plans, we all know about and understand the issue about these team plans. Very, very helpful. But the aim of your people plans are to tie individuals close to the team and plan and what's required from everyone in order to keep the projects progressing. We want to see progress every step of the way. But key element, we need to analyze the important tasks and track that particular progress, but build trust. When you have employees, above all, people need to be trusted that they can deliver, and as they deliver, reward them accordingly. Working remotely inherently requires letting go of the measures of control that you may have had as a leader. You'll find everyone is quite honest about their remote workflow. As I draw towards the end, it's very important to talk about the talent evaluation strategies, and very important to say we need to evaluate. I talked about assessment earlier on. Evaluation of new talent, meeting the onboarding needs, but also providing ongoing development of employees, tying this very closely to productivity. But we need to promote the right talent. The number one role of any business leader is having the right people on the right seat on the bus. Also, another key element, still talking about talent evaluation. One of the briefs of HR managers, the briefs that HR managers have is to ensure that professional development of employees continues. But it can hardly be achieved without talent evaluation. That's the importance of this element. Measuring and evaluating current performance ability is very, very critical. This has been highlighted above, and companies must learn how to do it well. What is even more strategic is where competitive advantage lies for savvy organizations with exceptional talent management practices is the issue of accurately evaluating potential. So talent evaluation, as we're talking about, it is only as effective as to the level of its objectivity. What are the KPIs that you're focusing on? Very, very critical. As part of an in-depth talent strategy, it's very important that evaluation forms a key component of that, right? Leaders and managers need to be taught how to give feedback on a continuous basis. I talked about it earlier on. Rather than viewing leadership or viewing evaluation at the end of the year, do it regularly. Track progress and correct people accordingly. As I close, very, very critical. Do not confuse effort with outcome. Productivity is not a factor of how tired somebody is. Productivity at the end of the day is results that have been generated. Don't confuse those two. There's need to encourage superior productivity through acknowledgement and reward mechanism. Let's review our reward mechanisms, as I said earlier on, to match outcomes. But here's a key element. Watch out for your assumptions. Many times we assume we know what we are measuring. We assume people know what we expect. Ask yourself, how accurate is the data that I have before me? Because data becomes information. Information becomes knowledge, and knowledge becomes wisdom. So at all these levels, make sure that the data that you have is clear enough, because it's informing wisdom for decision making on an ongoing basis, in as far as our talent is concerned. Let's move away from focusing on physical presence of employees. Virtual has become the new norm. It's now the era of virtual everything. Virtual is the way of life, and we can't run away from it. COVID has pushed us into it. Most of these disruptions have come because of the pandemic that we have faced, but this is the new reality. Manage your productivity and manage your talent. I talked about objectivity in measuring, but let's move away and from physical presence to ensuring that people are productive wherever they are. Key element, resources. If you don't have resources, you can't produce. Key element, objectivity. If you don't know what you are measuring, people will not know what you are expecting, because missed expectations leads to frustration. And where there's frustration, there's conflict. And where there's conflict, loss of productivity is a downward spiral. I end by saying, we owe it to ourselves as HR practitioners to ensure business leaders around us value the talent that we have, and value the fact that the issue of talent is a core success factor for our competitiveness. Gone are the days where we used to compete around product. We now compete around the issues of the talent that we have. No one can duplicate the talent we have. We must live and walk the talk. We must model the way. I spoke about it earlier on. The culture of the kingdom, ladies and gentlemen, emanates from the culture of the king. We must endeavor in all that we do to look at these two pillars that I've presented this afternoon. Look at some of the tools that I spoke about, and I will send you some of the links and reviews of some of the products. There are many other products. I just singled out those few. But there are many products that you can make good use of. A tool is only good as the user and the knowledge of the user to use it. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, I say,
Robinson, for your time. We do appreciate your time, because we've learned so much. And excellent. Before you go, Robinson, there's a question from Pamela. Culture change is a journey. How do you think we can be able to establish such a shift, even as things change rapidly?
Definitely, culture cannot be changed in a minute. You know, there's a difference between a 100-meter dash and a marathon. So the question is, how do you think we can be able to establish such a shift even as things change rapidly? So it's a delicate balance. The rate of change is incredible. There are many people, which is why I talked earlier on about ensuring their issues of wellness are dealt with. Key element, 80% of the people don't know how to adjust to change. In fact, 80% of the people are slow in as far as embracing change is concerned. Research has proven that. Only 20% of your staff members, so if you count 20, the other 80 are afraid of change. So the delicate balance that you have, you need to stay close to your people. I think that's one key element. Don't be aloof. Be sensitive to questions and issues that are not even raised through words. I think that's a key element. Your people, yes, are always the challenge, but people are always the solution. Learn to listen to people in as far as their pain points are concerned. Learn also to understand the fact that solutions don't just come from leadership. Solutions can also come from the team. More than anything else, when people feel cared for, when people feel that the leader listens, they will be able to run with you on this particular journey. Change must never be left just to leaders. Yes, you lead, you give direction, but leadership should be able to spearhead and be able to stay close to the people. Don't leave anyone behind. John Maxwell gives the analogy of the word leadership is about influence. So as we bring about change, this rapid change, number one, the letter I for influence. You have integrity with people. As change is happening, stay with integrity. N, you nurture people. You build people. Even through this change, you learn to handhold people. Faith in people. That's F. You must be able to believe that people can deliver. Delegate accordingly. L, listen to them. I mentioned it earlier on. U, understand them. Understand the environment. You see, where we are, it's about understanding the environment. I talked about environmental issues earlier on. Some issues that you may not have control over. Learn to understand what you can control and that which you can't control. Don't punish yourself over things you have no control over. Having understood enlarge people. You are taking people into a new zone. The new normal is enlarging. There are people who are not used to working from home. It's a culture change for people. And navigate for them. Show them the vision. Whenever people have got vision in front of them, they'll never get lost. They'll stay energized. But C, care for people. That's the well-being that I talked about earlier on. Care for them. People don't care how much you know as a leader until they know how much you care, even as you go through these rapids of change. But the last E, empower them. I talked about enlarging them, but I'm also talking about empowering them. Learn to share knowledge. We are in an era where people are selfish with what they know because we look at what we know as a source of competitive advantage. But we must realize the more we pass knowledge, the more we solidify our succession planning, the more we solidify our talent pool, the more we empower people to do what we want them to do, which is the achievement of organizational objectives. Or please spell that again, influence. Okay. I left the last letter. It's called influencer. I'll put the words here. Integrity with people. Everything that I'm putting here is integrity with people. N is you nurture people. F is have faith in people. L is listen to people. E is enlarge people. N is navigate, show vision. What is the other one? C is care for people. E is empower them. And the last one is R, replicate or reproduce in people. Right. Very, very important. So just understand that there is no storm that does not have a best by date. We are in an era of rapid change. The level of change, many people cannot even fathom, cannot even begin to understand the impact that it has on them. So stay close to them and do all these. Be the influencer that you need to see. Be the person that empowers. Be the leader that holds people along the way. Change is going to be a part of our lives. Change is the only normal in any business. If you don't know how to embrace change, and if you're stuck in the old, if you're fighting today's battles with old technology, with old tools, there's no chance that you are going to win today's battles when the tools are old, which is why your technology must be changing. Your processes must be reviewed. Your policies must be reviewed in line with talent evaluation as well as measures of productivity. I hope I've answered you.
All right, that was excellent. Thank you so much, Robinson, for answering the question. And thank you so much for your time, and we do appreciate thank you so much. And we have Caroline who says thumbs up for practical presentation. Really appreciate that.
All right, awesome.